And we keep things rolling here on the Sports Cubicle. I'm your host, Mike Mercado, and the Bears conversation continues because there is some news off the field, and it is an update on this entire stadium situation. A interesting little update. This comes to us from CBS News. Chicago Bears, Arlington Heights reached tentative deal over property taxes. Northwest suburb Arlington Heights is back in the headlines as the possible future home of the Bears. Arlington Heights Mayor Tom Hayes told CBS News Chicago that the village and 3 school districts reached a tentative deal with the team over property taxes. Quote, "I'm encouraged about the significant progress we have made in recent weeks," Hayes wrote. The new property tax agreement does not mean the Bears will build their new stadium in Arlington Heights after all, and the team says it's still focusing on a new stadium in the city of Chicago. But it does reignite the conversation. Quote, this is an exciting step, said Illinois State Representative Mary Beth Canty, a Democrat from Arlington Heights. Quote, "It's not the last step by any stretch, but I am pleased to see this move forward." The prospect of Bears moving to the former Arlington International Racecourse property in Arlington Heights dates back to 2021, when the team first bid on the property. The Bears ultimately bought the site for $197 million in February of 2023. Demolition of the grandstand and other structures on the site was completed in October of last year. For some time, it seemed as if new Bear Stadium in Arlington Heights was all but a done deal. When he first signed in on January 2023, Bears president and chief executive officer Kevin Warren said the Bears' sole focus for a new stadium was in Arlington Heights. But earlier this year, the team put the Arlington Heights plan on the back burner in favor of building their new stadium along the Chicago lakefront. In April, the Bears announced a $4.7 billion plan for a new dome lakefront stadium complex, including green space and other amenities on the museum campus and their current home at Soldier Field, just to the north of the proposed new stadium. The plan called for $900 million in public financing and upfront costs and another $1.5 billion in taxpayer funds for infrastructure improvements around the stadium. While Mayor Brandon Johnson came out in favor of the proposal, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker in May called the Bears' proposal a, quote, non-starter. This month, the Bears suggested they were considering building on yet another site, their former Michael Reese Hospital site in Brownsville, which we covered last week. Before the lakefront plan was announced, but after the Bears said they would spend $2 billion to stay in the city, the group of friends of the park suggested that the Bears should build at the Michael Reese site. The group is the same one that helped stop director George Lucas from building a museum along the lake back in 2016. In 2021, the city council signed off on a $3.8 billion plan to redevelop the Michael Reese site with 6,800 new homes, as well as a mix of office, shops, and research facilities. Whatever the choice ends up being, Canty agreed that taxpayers subsidizing the stadium is likely a no-go. Quote, "I don't think there's any more interest in the state funding a development project, whether it's in Arlington Heights or in the city of Chicago," she said. And there's more on this article over at CBS News as Chicago Bears and Arlington Heights reached tentative deal over property taxes. And it's plain and simple. The answer has always been, go to Arlington Heights. You own the land. You already spent nearly $200 million. And because you didn't want to spend a certain amount on property tax and give the schools in that district their money, you are now doing this entire circus talking about the campus by Soldier Field or the Michael Reese or going to Arlington Heights, going to Naperville. They have made this more complicated than it already has to be. And to be fair to Kevin Warren, a lot of this was done before he was brought in to be the president of the organization and to lead this project. And he is doing his due diligence. But I believe that the Chicago Bears have to pay for their own stadium because it's going to pay for itself long run. They already owe a bunch of money for the stadium they're still paying in that they already messed up the first time around. The state can do a lot of things with taxpayer money. Having a home for the Chicago Bears should not be on top of that priority list. Now, it is a lot of money for teams to want to get their teams back. But I promise you this, the Chicago Bears aren't going anywhere beyond the Chicagoland, Chicago suburbs area. So we don't have to worry about relocation. Let the billionaires pay for their stadium and let them get the revenue for it. Because here's the thing, right? They're going to ask you for your taxpayers, but you're not going to be able to have bar mitzvahs there. You're not going to be able to play flag football there. So it's still their property, but they're asking you to pay for it. Let them do it. It's very much a Chicago Bears thing to have this be the biggest mess it is. And it's interesting that we're already at the end of 2024 and not one shovel has hit the ground. It's going to be interesting to see how they play this out, but just an interesting update to what has been a fascinating, if nothing else, definitely frustrating story with the Chicago Bears and their stadium situation. Let us know your thoughts. What do you think the Chicago Bears should do? Should they go to Arlington Heights? Should they go to Michael Reese? Should they stay where they're at? What should they do with their new stadium? Roll over the universe. We're on Twitter at Sports Cubicle TV. Search us, the Sports Cubicle, Sports for the Couch on YouTube, and of course over at heartlandsignal.com. We got more coming up next on this edition of the Sports Cubicle here on WCPT 820 AM. I'm Mike Mercado.